We now see the many websites and YouTube videos that have exploded on the internet since 2013, discussing the torture that is perpetrated on victims of gang stalking, in contrast to before when there was little information available about gang stalking on the internet. Videos from individuals claiming to be targeted individuals, TIs, seen on YouTube and gang stalking information and support websites, attempt to claim that gang stalkers, perps, use technology to torture TIs. The claim is remote neural monitoring, RNM, also known as V2K or synthetic telepathy, used in order to read and induce thoughts into TIs. Also, direct energy weapons do, usually radio frequency microwaves, is claimed to be used to induce pain on TIs, along with nanotech smart dust and Morgellons. Individual TIs and TI support groups claim the method used for the V2K and induced pain is definitely technology, and are insistent it is, as if they are personally knowledgeable of how the perps are doing this torture. Usually there are some old patents discussed, along with some recent research and development related to technological mind manipulation in the news. The fact that the discussed patents are crude and news articles on technological mind manipulation show all things done in a lab and using clumsy equipment that would be difficult or impossible for a perp to utilize on a TI. Not mentioned is that the technology as seen in the news cannot do the things that the perps are doing every day. Telepathically having a two-way conversation with TIs. The perps utilizing said technology are almost always claimed somehow or another working for the US government or NATO, and incredibly this includes perps in countries not friendly with US NATO. The US and NATO are vilified as controlled by Illuminati in this scenario. Then another claim made concerning gang stalking perps, that they are spiritual attackers, demons are possessed by demons, and that gang stalking is a spiritual phenomena. The individuals making YouTube videos discussing gang stalking being a spiritual phenomena and related websites claim that TIs are victims of Satan's demonic gang stalkers and that have spiritual capabilities enabling perps an advantage over TIs. The claim is that the perps have spiritual capability to read minds and work as a hive mind in order to torture the TI. TIs are said to be victims of the Mandela Effect to further frustrate them. Also, the reason claimed for being targeted is the holiness of the TI, spiritually and or genetically, as if the TI is of a special race of person. The claim is TIs are the 144,000 special people in the end times as discussed in the biblical book of Revelation. The distinction of being a true TI versus a false TI is discussed by supporters of this view. I don't know if there's a test one can take to determine if they are a true TI, but such a test may come about. In this scenario, the only cure or way out is to accept Jesus Christ as your personal Savior. Also in this scenario, the US NATO is vilified as controlled by the Illuminati. In both scenarios, technology versus spiritual, the perps are described as having advanced powers that appear to make the TI to be a helpless victim of the perps' whims. And both scenarios blame the US and NATO powers as being complicit in the TI's torture. The videos and websites promoting these scenarios are completely sure they are correct, and you have to believe it. No room for dissension tolerated. The technology scenario has many shortcomings. How does the RNM happen? Is a chip needed as a transceiver? What about the majority of TIs that have no chip? Is direct line of sight required between a perp and TI? What about proximity between a perp and TI? Does the perp carry a power source around with this equipment? How is all this equipment so well concealed? Why does this V2K work when the TI is far away from anyone or anything? Orbiting satellites put out very weak radio frequency signals and are thousands of miles away in space. How do these weak signals affect people? How can orbiting satellite signals affect TIs when they are covered in buildings, thunderstorms, etc.? Are TIs' brains read by orbiting satellites? If some phenomena is successful worldwide, it would have to be straightforward, understandable, and completely explainable, not just conjecture and maybes. The spiritual scenario has many shortcomings also. When did these gang stalkers get their special powers, at birth or later? Do these powers stay if perps stop being perps? There are Christians and other people around the world with these telepathic powers. Is this from Satan or God? Are powers similar from Satan or God? What about all the security? What about all the people around the world that use telepathy for secular purposes, like finding people or national security? Is this from God or Satan? What about the people that have other religions besides Christianity or no religion that use telepathy to help people with? Are all them perps? Are there people that have telepathy that are not perps? Why is that? Is there a way to determine the authenticity of the spirituality scenario? Tangible evidence of the Mandela Effect? Both scenarios try to put the gang stalking phenomena into a box. And that box is used to direct the TI's anger, frustration into a certain direction. In another scenario, facts that contradict are ignored or glossed over in order to maintain the veracity of the scenario. Both scenarios lead the TI to blame, distrust, and oppose the U.S. and NATO governments and completely ignore any other possible culprits, other than the ubiquitous Satan. What both scenarios set up the TI for is to be recruited into a new TI movement that recently appeared to purportedly promote issues in the TI's benefit. As evidence of this, on August 29, 2018, there was an advertised First World Targeted Individual Day. The TI movement would be able to have a dedicated and motivated worldwide force that possibly could do whatever the movement leaders wanted the TIs to do. Unfortunately, there is not much competition for targeted individuals' attention in any legitimate organization, so the TI movement would have an easy time monopolizing and manipulating the TIs. The group that is responsible for gang stalking has been deceiving the Western world for thousands of years, and they know how to push our buttons to get the responses they want. What they want is to create a worldwide army of angry, disgruntled activists that will oppose the police methods and tactics that are making their own criminal activities more difficult with each passing day. If there are enough TIs in a given area, the TI movement could organize TIs to do some activity that may have been unthinkable before. Along the way, the criminal group responsible for gang stalking could find a talented and motivated true believer, TI, that they could easily manipulate into doing things that they could never get a normal person to do. And TIs are going cheap nowadays, making this TI movement so much more attractive.